and welcome to today's webinar, Beyond Your Extended Disc Report, Making Disc a Daily Habit. Today's webinar will be recorded, and we would love to hear from you. So please put your questions and comments in the chat or the Q&A. And today's webinar is really going to be focused on that. So what's next, right? We've gotten our disc report. Now what do we do? So Christine and I will be sharing a simple method to turn your assessment into daily habits that you can use both at work and in life. It's not about theory, it's about real world tips that you can practice every day. The real magic starts. So my name is Amy Lipinski, and I'm a senior facilitator here at Extended Disc.
And I am Christina Bowser. I'm also a senior facilitator here at Extended Disc.
And we're going to go ahead and get started.
So I know we show this every single webinar, but it is that critical. So today we're really talking about adjustments, right? Those daily habits. How do we improve ourselves? But it's just a reminder that there are 4 steps that lead to it. So step 1, obviously, is everyone needs to understand what DIS and C means. And hopefully step 2 is where you receive some information about yourself from your report that you can use. That's what we'll apply today. And then step 3 is always remember that interactions include other people, and other people may not want to interact with you the same way that you prefer to interact with them. So today we're focusing on how do we modify our style to improve interactions.
And I always say that's the hard part, right? Disc isn't rocket science. It's the fact that we get busy. It's not a tool that's in addition to our already busy job. It's meant to be a tool to help us be more successful in our already busy jobs. And so that's where the power and the value of disc comes in. But getting it to be that continual habit is the tricky part. It's like good intentions of starting a diet. You do great on day 1 and then it fizzles out, right? And so we're going to be talking about small repeatable actions that can really help you lead to effective habits or change. We don't want the disc profiles just to go into the desk drawer and be filed away and easily forgotten. We know stress and pressure can pull us off track. But what are these daily habits that we can make and do to help make disc stick?
So as always, our job is to make your life a little bit easier. So it's one thing to say, make it stick, right? Practice every day, right? So we're going to give you a very simple, what we call a disc habit loop to practice. So you're going to start with a cue. When do you need to flex, right? So maybe you need to flex in a weekly meeting, or when you're giving feedback, or with specific team members. Then is the routine, the actual adjustment of your style. The next and the ultimate where we're trying to get to is that reward. Why does that adjustment matter to us? And that reward motivates us back to the cue. So this is the disc habit loop that we're going to talk about, and we're going to show you ways to use your disc assessment to apply it.
So let's take a look at an example to see how does this apply to our DIS and Cs, kind of in a big picture format, right? So for my D styles, they're cue, right, when a habit triggers. So maybe right before I'm about to jump into a discussion. The routine, what should I adjust during this discussion? Maybe I should pause before responding and ask for some input. The reward, why would I do this, right? Why would I pause? I'm a D style. I get better input and make stronger decisions. For my eyes, that cue might be when I start a meeting. The routine or the what, maybe I allow others to speak first, right? Sit, again, be quiet, right? That reward, why? People feel heard. It helps me to build stronger relationships. For my S's, that cue for my S's might be when I'm asked to take on another task. The what do I do? What am I going to practice, right? What's that routine? Let me practice saying, let me check my workload first before I just readily commit to yes. And why? So it helps me to protect my time and reduce my stress and not overcommit. For the C styles, the cue might be when I'm double checking my work. Set a timer, and I'm laughing because I really could use this one, right? Set a timer to limit my review time. Why? It helps me to finish on time and most importantly, avoids overanalyzing.
Does do quite good quality work though. So how do we use the DISC assessment? So the extended DISC assessment really shows, if you, as you guys all probably know, your natural behavioral style, what you are most comfortable doing and how you tend to do things and how you tend to interact with others. Remember, it's not saying that's what you do, it just predicts that's your preferred way of doing things. We know that the individual assessment also gives you tips on how to adjust your style to be more effective. But the real impact comes from when you actually use the information, right? Amy talked about, don't file it away. We know the value of DISC even for the participants that come to our session, but as soon as we take this wonderful document home or to our workplace, the phone starts ringing, the emails start coming, right? And so we set it aside. So here's a way that we're going to show you to help your clients turn these DISC results into practical steps. So for hopefully real lasting change.
So the first one we're going to look at is highlighting some of the sections within the individual report. And if you've been to any of my trainings, you know I love these behavioral competence pages. And so we're going to start with this first one and looking at your communication style. The cue is pick one of these that might really be something you want to improve on, right? So maybe let's say it's clear and fact-based communication when asked to share updates, plans, or progress, right? So what could I adjust? What's my routine? Instead of maybe telling a long drawn out story about it, summarizing some of those key facts, the who, what, when, and then add that enthusiasm or details, elaborate on my story if time allows. And the reward, again, the result is it builds trust and credibility. It helps others see me as reliable, clear, while still letting my natural energy shine, right? So we're thinking about these habit loops because what happens is when we really need to apply these habits is usually when we're feeling kind of stress, pressure, fatigue. And we don't always think about, oh yeah, what did I learn in DISC, right? So when we can really pay attention and be considerate and deliberative with this, it helps to create that habit.
And just so you know, I am cueing myself right now in this webinar. So in the past webinars, somebody next to me has told me that sometimes I get into her personal space. So my cue is this webinar. My habit is to put my hands in my pocket right now and to stand still. So the reward is I'm going to have a happier coworker. So anyways, always practicing the habit loop, right? So another section, and again, even though we're going to give you some examples of how to use each section, we're not giving you the entire report, but you can apply the habit loop to the entire report. Also, you are not or your participants are not required to use only what exists on these pages of your report. They are suggestions, right? They are based on your natural style. So if it generates something that you think of that's not on this list, go for it. So the next one we wanted to highlight was, we call this motivation momentum, and it's situations that reduce your motivation section. So it is a list of things that tend to reduce your energy. You may try to avoid them, they drain you. So how do we develop ourselves around this? How do we practice something that helps us to overcome some of these demotivators or motivation reducers? So the cue here is maybe for this individual, restrictions, right? So they don't like rules or limits or rigid processes that feel confining to them. It's just exhausting. They just avoid it if they could. So the routine here is the adjustment. So how can they reframe that restriction as a challenge? So how can I bring creativity or energy within these restrictions or within these boundaries? And sometimes suggesting just maybe one small idea that fits the rules. So you're not really going outside, but you're not kind of giving up who you are as well. So what would be the reward, the results? keeps my energy and motivation higher. Maybe it's not as great as I would like it, but it keeps the motivation going in the right direction, and shows others that I can still, within confinement, contribute positively. So that's just another one.
And you can do this idea with any one of the pages, right? We're just kind of highlighting a few. I think the biggest key is that, like any new habit that you're starting, anytime you start something new, don't overwhelm yourself, right? Start with small things that are attainable and build from there. So the next one is pressure preparate. I can't even say the word. So I'm not going to say it. So we look at these situations from reaction to pressure situations page and help us to identify which one of these do I want to work on, right? Do I show up this way? And look to see how could I respond differently? Revisit your communication style as a way for some ideas on how you could respond differently. And so selecting that focus, deciding on how you'll adjust, and don't forget, phone a friend, check in with a colleague, right? Say, hey, do I show up this way? Do you have any suggestions or ideas? What could I do differently, right? So let's look at an example. Um, this person is an iStyle. And so from this screenshot here, we see maybe their pressure reaction is delays things when trying to avoid quarrels. So the adjustment might be to take a breath, acknowledge the concern directly, and ask one clarifying question to keep the conversation moving forward. The result, we can help to prevent unnecessary delays by asking that clarifying question. We reduce misunderstanding with that question. And we also show confidence while still preserving that relationship, because that's going to be really important to an iStyle. And I think it's just a great reminder to say at this time too that these adjustments aren't meant to change who you are.
Mhm.
It's meant to help you embrace who you are. How do you shine more of your true self through these adjustments? And the why, that reward, is so that we understand that motivating factor, what's going to help us get to our end result sooner and quicker and faster.
It's also a reminder that I just did okay, this is a mental break right now. I just forgot what I was saying, but it's also a reminder that, these suggestions, these adjustments and routine that we are asking of ourselves don't always feel comfortable, right? Sometimes they feel awkward, like, okay, I'm really stepping outside my comfort zone. It's taking me, effort to do it. But the good news is, as we start to create that habit loop, we start to practice it more. We're trying to get it to a habit, which is also what we call a learned behavior, something that is not necessarily going to convert our natural style, but it feels a little bit less of an effort the more we practice it.
All right, Christina, I will share a vulnerable story
Okay.
with everybody, with all my closest friends here on the call. So one of the things that is one of my routine adjustments that I need to practice is speaking up, speaking my opinion, saying something, right? And so what I started to do to help practice that habit loop would be to raise my hand, because it's not easy for me just to interject or speak up and find my voice, but it was easier to raise my hand. And so that was the starting point, right? Like, again, it's that reminder that it doesn't have to be completely stretched out of our comfort zone. Find some middle ground with it so that it is something that you can do and achieve and have success with.
I just wanted to highlight one more section, but as I do that, I'm going to also be in the chat sending, if I can make this work, um, a handout um, about this habit loop. So it will help you actually Did it work? Okay, I think there it goes. Okay, so in your chat, you'll see a handout that you can download. We'll be talking about it next, but just kind of wrap up with another very simple one. This time we picked a different section of the report. It's not the behavioral competences. These are suggestions and tips on becoming a better team member. And again, remember, these suggestions and tips are based on your natural style. Not everybody gets the same suggestions. So for this one, maybe a cue might be where we pulled straight from this report at the end of every day, or at the end of every project, review the completed tasks. So if you haven't figured out by now, this person is an I style, right? So organization, details, it's probably not, it's more of a challenge for this person. So for them, their adjustment routine might be to practice reviewing the completed task list, and make note of what has finished, or what's left to be done, any follow-ups. It's something that literally someone like myself, or, someone, an iStyle might have to put a Post-it on their desk to remind them to do that, but that's okay. Because the end of the day, of course, the reward, we all know, right? Shows reliability, as a valued team member.
So the handout that Christina put into the chat, you should be able to download that here. And we call it the power of one, making DISC a daily habit. Because as you've heard us say, we don't want to overwhelm. We don't want to do too much. We don't want to chew off more than we can, bite more than we can chew, whatever the saying is. So we want to just focus on one thing, right? And so I like handouts. And so this handout is designed to help us identify one area or behavior that we want to adjust. Think about those examples that we've been walking through. Come up with your own cue. Determine what's the signal that you will see that says, oh, hey, I need to adjust here. And then what routine are you going to make when you see that signal? What adjustment can you do? And then why? What's the reward? Determine why making this adjustment is going to be important. It might be something that's important to you, the relationship, the project, the team, right? And then the takeaway is really come back and reflect on and refine on that interaction. I always say, come back. Did it work? Because, like Christina said, sometimes these habits and adjustments don't always feel comfortable to us because they're a bit of a stretch. And so we really want to encourage people to come back and reflect. Did it work? Did it have the desired impact that I wanted, right? And then if it didn't, be able to refine that. And if it did, help to build that confidence to make it a habit loop.
So, if you didn't get the handout yet, it may take a minute to get into it. It has uploaded from my end. Hopefully, if you didn't get it, just reach out to us after. You'll see our email after, and we'll be happy to send you the handout. So, the second part of the handout really focuses on, your takeaways. Now that you've gone through the habit loop process, how do you track that progress? So, this is something we actually do. I encourage you to do on a daily basis. So at the end of the day, whether it's one habit or multiple habits that you tried, ask yourself what worked, what went well, right? For some of us, it really is very helpful to give it a score. Like, okay, that was maybe a 7. I'm going for 8 tomorrow. Maybe ultimately I'm going to get that 10. And equally important is refine, right? We don't always have to get that 10 the first time. So if you scored maybe an 8, maybe a 9, what could you try differently next time to get you to that 10? So I like scoring. So that works for me. You do whatever works for you, but these are just suggestions.
It's just to remind us again that these might sound simple, they might sound easy until you put them into practice, right? They can be challenging sometimes. And I love the refining process because there's some days where I'm like, okay, so tomorrow's a new day, right? Like we're gonna start new tomorrow. We'll start over again. And that's the great thing is each day you have a new opportunity to start again and start fresh. So What are some takeaways to sum up the tips to building your disc habit loop? The worksheet, right? Sometimes just having that piece of paper in front of us helps us hold ourselves accountable. You can find yourself an accountability partner to say, "Hey, here's the worksheet I filled out." Like if you see me, give me a clue. I told Christine I would stand with my power position to knock her out of my space, right? Set calendar reminders. I don't know about you, but I'm connected to my phone all the time. So put in a reminder that will pop up. Hey, have you tried this? Have you been practicing your habits, your adjustment, right? What have you been doing to help you hold yourself accountable?
So accountability partner, how'd I do so far?
You her hands came out of the
I
pocket when she talked. Otherwise, she's been doing really good.
Okay, trying hard here.
And I
See?
don't get mad, everybody. I mean, you can't picture me getting mad now, can you?
No. I give myself a 9 today, you know? All right. So, overall key points, right? At the end of the day, why do we use DISC? Um, DISC is a lifelong tool. It's not just the report itself, but I always like to say that DISC is not something that is brand new to any of us. We know how to interact, we know how to communicate, we know how to do things. DISC is really a reinforcement tool that simply reminds us to take what we already do well, but with more consistency. One of the things we facilitators like to say is, if there was one thing when you are interacting with people in emails, on the phone, face to face, there's one thing you can remember. It's to treat others the way they want to be treated. Um, and DISC helps you understand how they want to be treated, because the more you motivate that person to interact with you, the more you actually win or get out of what you need in that interaction. Adjusting your style, you heard, it takes practice. We don't score 10s all the time, but hopefully with this little kind of habit loop to kind of keep it conscious and help you practice on a regular basis, it will help you apply DISC.
So some of the resources available, the biggest one is your actual extended disc report. There is a lot of information in there. Like I said, don't be overwhelmed. There's also some great specific tips on how to adjust for a team member to the D, the I, the S, the C styles, right? So if you're ever feeling like, well, I don't know what to do, look on those pages for some great ideas. The worksheet is really designed just to be a guide to help you remember what that habit loop might look like, the why behind it, right? Tracking the progress is just meant to be a resource to help guide you. It's not in addition to, again, your already busy jobs, but is meant to be a resource to help you make this a habit. I always tell people the more you fill these worksheets out to make it the habit, it starts to become second nature. We also have lots of different training videos out there that you can see some, again, other tips on modifications. Those are going to be more generic tips, whereas in your report, those are very specific to your extended disc profile and style. So those are really the very specific, unique adjustments and ideas for you individually. Whereas our training videos will be a little more broad and maybe not all those tips will apply, but you can still get some great ideas, or even just use that as a way to send out to people. Hey, remember, here's how the S styles show up. How have you modified to an S style this week?
Also, somebody had a great suggestion. Can we share this PowerPoint with you? I won't share the exact PowerPoint, but I will create a version that highlights some of the sections of the report that I will post on our client VIP site for our active users of Extended Disc. If for any reason you can't access VIP, just simply reach out with that, because here
And our worksheet is out there as well, right, Christina?
I will actually put it on
Okay.
this along with that PowerPoint, just to make it easier. So look out for, we'll be sending information, or you can see here, our email is info@extendeddisc.org if you needed a copy of the handout and you weren't able to download it, or if you can't access the VIP site to get access to this PowerPoint presentation. Just give me a couple days to get it done. It won't take me long, but this is my Friday. So with that, thank you guys all for joining us. We do have another webinar coming up, which is facilitating sales disc sessions. That will be in October. That's our next monthly webinar, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So with that, thank you guys all for joining us today. I can take my hands out of my pocket now and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.